So where it is going to be, so I actually just wrote about um, looking through the point guard like mid-level market, and it will be well. First of all, are you done with Brad Wanamaker? Because if not, we're gonna have some words if you are.
I don't want to say I'm done with him. Um, like what money are we talking about? Is he coming back in on a
Yeah,
veterans
like
minimum
veterans
contract?
minimum or slightly above the veterans minimum. So like, I don't think he's gonna get much more than the veterans minimum, to be honest. So it's like that he can be restricted if the Celtics want him to be. Um, and I can't imagine him costing in this market costing more than the veterans minimum. Like he played well, but not well enough to get like a serious like long term contract.
I think it would be interesting from his perspective to come back, depending on the other moves that they make. Like if they want to upgrade at that spot and add some depth. If I was Brad Wanamaker, I don't think I would come back to Boston because I want to play.
Right.
Um, so like, what are some names? I have a couple names just like off the top of my head, but what are some names that you like? Some guys that you wrote about who you think could be valuable in that part of the rotation?
So this, if you're just looking at point guard, there's if you're thinking offense first for mid-level
Mm-hmm.
money, I think that the best name on that list, conceivably in that price range, is DJ Augustine. Um, a proven three-point shooter who can distribute, is a size liability from a defensive standpoint. I can't see any team giving him more than mid-level. Maybe at this point of his career, he wants to win, so he takes a little bit less to come be, play a meaningful role. But he wants to start somewhere, and that's not going to be in Boston. But um, that's probably the best name in terms of pure, passing and shooting talent on the list. Um, I'm not sure if that makes sense for this team though when you already have another 6 foot point guard in Kemba Walker.
Yeah. Well, I think it's kind of interesting to kind of tie into this conversation what's happening with the schedule going forward and how fast the season is going to be in the regular season
Mm-hmm.
and how much teams are going to need to load manage their veterans. And so Kemba Walker is someone who I would doubt is going to be playing in all 72 games or 50 games or whatever it is. I think that that's someone that they're really going to be given the money that he's owed, given what happened with his knee in the bubble and his performance down the stretch of the playoffs. Like that's someone who I'd want to manage and kind of massage his way through the regular season as much as possible. So I'm not too worried if I were to sign DJ that would they be kind of like replicating each other in terms of size, and that's not what you want. I don't think DJ would be on the floor at the end of a playoff game regardless. So I'd be fine with it. I'm a fan of his. Had a little bit of a down shooting year compared to his previous 2 years, but like he's just a really good outside shooter, really like competent setup man. Um, so I like that. I like that pick. Can I throw a name at you who I don't know who I don't know if he would be available financially. It would have to take a pay cut, but someone who recently said that he's really wanting to prioritize winning at this stage in his career. And that is, he's one of my least favorite players. So it's kind of funny that I'm saying this, but that is Jeff Teague.
Yeah, he's on my list too. Um,
Oh,
or just in terms of like mid-level I don't like. I'm not even sure he's going to get a full mid-level. Um, just based. I mean, maybe he just watch like maybe you get him engaged somewhere, which Minnesota and Atlanta weren't good places for that for him the last couple of years. Um, but it's he when he's on,
Atlanta.
he's
I would
really
throw
good.
out
I mean,
Atlanta. I
Atlanta
would throw out
exactly.
Atlanta.
Minnesota is where you look at it and you're like, okay, there were all sorts of issues going on there. I guess for him, if you want to just talk offense, he's an interesting piece. If you want to see a guy just die on screens miserably, he's also your man.
Very fair. Very fair. That's a name that, I haven't been to, and he's getting up there in age a little bit, even though I'm older than him, which makes me feel really depressed. But he's getting up there a little bit. And I was never even really a huge fan of his, like even when he was an all-star in Atlanta that one year.
Yeah.
Something about his game just has always kind of rubbed me the wrong way. But we're talking pure talent at $5 million for 1 year. Like, that's sure. Like, add them to what they have. Because, I mean, again, I'm just like, I don't think they need to hit a home run with whoever they sign. I think whoever they sign needs to just come in and like fill a very narrow lane of competence, because I think that the heaviest lifting will be on, I think Jalen's going to take another leap. I think he's going to be an all-star. And I think that Tatum's going to take like a sizable leap. So like the heavy offensive, like I don't need Jeff Teague to come in and take 10 shots a game.
Right.
Like, I don't. So
that's the kind of guy, you're right, that won't be stealing shots from the guys you want. Like, he can shoot, but he doesn't necessarily want to shoot. He wants to pass first, which works here. And so before we go into more names, like I think the more interesting thing to me in terms of like where you want to use this money heading into free agency if you're the Celtics is like, I don't mind Marcus Smart, the point guard, either. And so part of me wonders, like, okay, if you're bringing in another point guard, then that kind of pushes Marcus off the ball more on offense. Or, I mean, you obviously, it's never bad to have multiple ball handlers on the floor, but it pushes him. A guy like Teague would push him away from primary ball handling duties when he is on the floor. And I'm not sure I want that. Like with Smart, like I would almost be just as well being like, all right, Smart, I want you going back to running the pick and roll and setting up guys, because you're pretty good at it when that was your main focus. But it is at the same time, it's nice to have that flexibility when you're managing Kemba, to have the extra pure ball handler that you can slot in there, and then you can keep Smart coming off the bench if you want.
Well, I have two other names then that are kind of different skill sets, but are functionally similar positions. One would be Austin Rivers, who I don't know if you're. What's up?
Player option for him?
The max for Austin Rivers. I like his. I don't know what his market's going to be. In his situation coming out of Houston, and he played a very specific type of basketball the past couple of years, and it would be a very different brand in Boston. But he's a bucket getter, really good 3-point shooter, or pretty good 3-point shooter. And like, that's someone who can play off the ball, has a lot of experience playing off the ball in minutes with James Harden. And I don't know, I really liked him the last couple of years, watching Houston as closely as I did. And like, I thought that it was a mistake Mike D'Antoni made not to close games with Austin Rivers. I thought he was one of their better, like what he does for you dynamically is really important. And he's a pretty solid defensive player who gets after it. He's not a bad defender by any means. So I like Austin Rivers. And then also someone who's kind of just a little slighter, but a really good shooter and can come off pin downs and stuff. And you can play Marcus Smart at the point guard spot and have him handle the ball a lot, is Langston Galloway, who he's just a really good shooter, and you can't have enough shooting in today's league. So that's someone else I would look at and see kind of what's going on there and if they would have any interest.
Yeah, I think that's really good. If they don't find that shooter, in the draft, I think Galloway is a very logical fit in terms of just having someone who defenses have to pay attention to, which this team really hasn't had off the bench in a while, or, they've kind of trended away from it since the Ray Allen days. Does Reggie Jackson have anything left from what you watched with the Clippers in the postseason?
I don't think Reggie Jackson is like washed up by any means. I
Is he a good buy low target?
It's kind of an indictment that, and maybe it's not fair to Reggie, but that Doc Rivers, after the Clippers were eliminated, said that the number one thing they needed was a point guard. And then I think Kawhi Leonard echoed the sentiment, basically like someone who could get the team in a functioning offense in a half-court set and run actions. And so, like, I don't know how you view Reggie Jackson. I mean, he's nominally a point guard, so it's a little bit of shade, but at the same time, he's more, I think, been more score first.
Yeah, he's always been a shoot first guy wherever he's been.
Right. And I think but I mean, he's an okay shooter, and as a spot up threat, he was pretty good with the Clippers after they got him. I don't know, it's something about the shot selection and his understanding of where he's at in the hierarchy. I don't think it would be a good fit.
That's a guy who would be stealing away shots from the guys you'd want. I think if him, a Jordan Clarkson, who I feel like is going to get mid-level money too, Utah could bring him back, but that's the kind of guy that I think they'll stay away from, knowing that for as much as he's going to help you in certain games, he's also going to, keep Tatum and Brown from averaging 20 to 25 shots a night on certain points, which I don't think the C's want.
From BC, though.
I mean, Jackson for sure. There was
that's your boy.
The last few glory days of BC basketball was with Reggie Jackson on the floor, and it feels like 10 years ago because it was. So that is
yeah, very sad.